often dis-ease means the emotionally, a physical manifestation of not being emotionally at ease.
Wow.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Love Speaks. I am your host, Lakeisha, and with my fabulous co-host,
Francois. Welcome to Love Speaks. Love speaks what love is, whether it is spiritually, whether it's culturally, or whether it is currently. Love speaks.
and we're so excited that you're taking this journey with us as we continuously highlight various individuals who's making a great impact in this region. And so we often say on our platform that if ever you want to be a guest, we want you to notify us, email us, just message us, let us know. We're welcoming you because we want your information. We want your story to be heard.
Now, in the midst of Love Speaks, one of the things that's key in all of our lives, there's a saying that says, no man is an island, no man stands alone. And it is so important that as we live in this earth, there's another saying too, I love. They said, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, take someone with you. And it is so important that we make proper connections. Proper connections. One proper connection that is key is in the area of mentorship. I have found for myself that I have multiple mentors in different areas of my life.
Yes.
It's sad to kind of go at life alone. I have mentors with individuals who I admire them financially.
Yes. Yes.
They can't tell me not a thing about marriage.
That's right.
But from a financial point,
Yes.
I allow them to mentor me, whether it is in public speaking, whether it is musically. I obtain different mentors. So if we have particular areas in our life that we really want to achieve great success, I strongly urge everyone to find yourself a mentor.
Yes, I agree. I definitely, because today we, hear the terminology and many people say, I have a mentor, but I don't think they really understand what having a mentor entails or really understand what the definition of a mentor is, because it's beyond you being in control and making the decision, but it's a person to help activate you and thrust you into the next level of your life and your purpose, because sometimes we are stuck in places because it is a norm. It is stuck because we have been doing this all of our lives. And it takes someone who has a very keen eye to come into our life to see the patterns, because I believe in every single one of our lives, there are patterns. I like to, relate to them sometimes as cycles. And if we have someone who comes in our life who has a very keen eye, rather it's the mentor, the coach, and I just started my practicum for my clinical mental health. And I had my supervisory introductory course, and it was just phenomenal because she was able to shed insight, because of course I have a lot of book knowledge, a lot of information that I receive and resources throughout the courses, but having the actual relatable experiences. And so I work a lot in ministry, but this is a different territory. And I think everybody thinks because you work in ministry, you do this, you do that, but not having the background or the experience. And so that's why I'm so excited about our guest that is with us today, because she's not only been with the Miami-Dade School, many years, but also her certifications and her education, not only being, again, as an educator, but also as a coach, a life coach. And as I began to just read on her website and read the story and her mission and vision, my baby leaped. because it's breaking down barriers. And so I'm so excited for our guest today because she's been doing the work, has so much information to share with us. So we want you to join us as we introduce to you Patricia from Breaking Down Barriers, ASAP. And we're going to let her get into all of that and let her break all of that down for us today and give us a full description of her organization, her business, what she does, and what she can do for you. So we want to welcome you to Love Speaks. Patricia, thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit down with us and talk to us about the great things you are doing, what you're so passionate about. And so tell us, before we just jump into everything, tell us a little about yourself.
Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm a native of Ohio. I am a native of Ohio, and I come from a line of teachers from Alabama.
Okay.
So I come from a line of teachers, and I say that because historically I look at, African tribes often had different tools.
Yes.
And you knew, who the hunters were, who the things were. And you talked about patterns.
Yes.
And as I began to grow up and I looked at the patterns in my family, I noticed, wow, there are quite a few teachers. And as the story was told, I don't remember, but my mother said when I was about 4 years old, I used to sit at the choir rehearsal bench and swing my legs. And other kids would be running around, and but I would sit there. And I told her I wanted to start piano, but they thought, oh, this is a little kid with just a fascination. And eventually, years passed, and the choir director said, if she is still asking, buy her a piano and see what happens. And I also was told that at one point, I sat at the table with her, again, my legs swinging. As you can see, I'm not a very tall person. And I was saying I needed to talk to her about something very serious. And the serious thing was, I wanted to become a music teacher, and if I didn't start my lessons very soon, I was going to be too old. Now, mind you, I wasn't even in second grade. But that's the story.
Wow.
Ambition.
And the thing about that is neither one of my parents were musicians.
Wow.
So I ran into the frustration. Most of my musical training, formal training, came from private lessons, but the interest started from my faith community,
Yes.
my church. And then as I moved forward, in school, I was able to take, music lessons and then take lessons outside of school. But I always knew that I wanted to be a music teacher. And I was blessed in the fact that my parents honored that interest. Even though they were not musicians, they would make sure I listened to different types of music and make sure I got to go to different concerts, things like that.
Yes.
So that was the blessing, one of many blessings in my life. I went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio for college because my piano teacher, I remember her, Emmeline Clausen from Mississippi, who was in Ohio, said to me, you need to go there. It's going to be rigorous. And she was very honest with me. And this lets you know, I remember I said Emmeline Clausen from Mississippi, very old lady. But she said to me, they're not going to necessarily treat you nice because you're colored.
Wow.
But she said, I will give you the foundation musically that will not intimidate you. And she did.
Wow.
I could have graduated from high school early, and she encouraged me to stay an extra year so she could fortify my foundation so I would not be intimidated.
Wow.
You know how God just lays things in place, and that's what he did. And eventually I did come here after college, supposedly for 1 year. Okay. Stayed here over 40. And the thing with that is I had different experiences as a music teacher. And while I was teaching high school, I found out that I also had the heart of a counselor. And students would bring their friends in. And I would say, no, I'm the music teacher. But another counselor who was old enough to be my mother at the time, I was 20-something teaching high school. And she said to me, She said, Patricia, because you have the heart of a counselor. And I said, but I can't handle all the things they're bringing to me. She goes, there will come a time in your life you will go to school and you will be emotionally ready. And that's like you have to acquire wisdom.
Yes.
And eventually I moved back to elementary school for music, and I was going to go back to pursue my master's. And I was like, I'm wondering. I ran into one of my former students who had already gotten her master's, and I said, I'm thinking about going back to school. She goes, I hope it's to be a counselor.
Wow.
I'm like, really? And so that's what I ended up doing.
Wow.
Because of that. That's what, happened with that. And so I don't know if she realizes it so much, but she was one of the voices that I kept hearing going, okay, I'm going to do this. So I did go back to school and, got my master's in counseling.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
That's amazing. And so you went back to school to get your master's in counseling. But it's like I see your pattern starting way early, where you've had the mentorship to fortify you to endure what was a possibility of that could be a distraction for you.
That's right.
She said, no, I want you to stay one more year, because you're going to enter into an atmosphere that may not fully accept you before they even know what you have to offer. So let's fortify you first so that your gift makes room for you.
Yes.
Wow, that is amazing. And then you end up, in turn, returning the same thing. I'm loving your story already.
Yes.
So now you have over 40 years of experience in education. How did that background shape your vision for this business opportunity that you're a part of?
Even though I had the mental health background, I knew how to diagnose people, those kind of things. But I always, first even as a music teacher, I remember seeing people struggle and their philosophies of education. And some philosophies are about talent. Mine is about exposure. I thought I was just being a music teacher.
Yes.
But those aspects, that was God, laying the path for me. And when I, did different things like that, things like stand up and say your name without looking at the floor. I did not realize how hard that could be for some high school students. And I told them, I am honoring, you may never go to college, but you will stand, somebody will say, what's your name?
Absolutely.
And you need to stand with honor and dignity and say your name.
Yes.
And believe it or not, sometimes I would say an A or F. And some students during the first month would say, I'll just take the F.
Wow.
Yes.
And I was like, man, again, a life skill.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to move from your seat just to the front of the room and stand and say, my name is Patricia Bryant. I'm in the 10th grade. And, just baby steps. But I wasn't looking at just music. I was looking at life. I was looking at life. And to me, a teacher teaches what is needed. Yes, you may have a focus. And so as a coach, I started looking, when I look back at my life, those things have always been laying. The path has been slowly but surely. I went into counseling, but I did that because I thought that was a way of helping others. But it was also a way of helping me. It gave me coping skills to be able to listen to some of the pain and not internalize it, because I did not have those skills. But the other thing, too, I learned through the years of counseling that sometimes systems require you to be diagnosed with something to receive help.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And there are some people that don't need a diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Right? But they need help.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have coaching for everything else. As long as I've been in the school system, I've watched it evolve. You have a reading coach, you have a math coach, you have a science coach, all this, no life coaching.
No life skills coach.
I'm like, wait a second. Something's missing. And then as I started exploring life coaching, first, one of the people I listened to is John Maxwell's podcast.
Yes.
I love him. I love his books.
Yes.
That's why I became, one of his certified team members. And with that in mind, I'm like, I think I really can do the coaching.
Yes.
And a lot of people say, I'm not crazy. I don't want to do no mental health. And I'm like, okay. But the coaching, people have been receptive to. Yes. Because mental health often requires a diagnosis. That's because of insurance and other systems.
Correct.
But my thing is, mental health looks at where you were and how you got here. Mm-hmm. Coaching looks at where you are and where you want to go. And, our tagline is, we move you from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what we do at Breaking Down Barriers. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do. Yes.
What does the name Breaking Down Barriers, ASAP, mean to you personally?
I look at barriers. Again, I love words as an educator. And barriers keep you in and other people out that may be able to help you.
Yes.
And when we break, most barriers are based upon fear, false evidence appearing real. Mm-hmm. But through coaching, we can change that to face everything and rise. Yes. And that's one of the things. Breaking down barriers, I have found that there are many people, my community, I call them barrier breakers.
Yes.
They are the first to do something. Maybe the first to go to college, maybe the first to go to high school, maybe the first to go into business. But they are not embraced because the family fears they will not thrive. Yeah. And so breaking down barriers is to break down the barriers for you to be different, to give you a safe space to be different and to continue to grow. The ASAP, most people think that means quickly.
Exactly.
But in this case, it means to activate strengths and purpose.
I absolutely agree with all of it. And I'm so glad to be sitting here in your presence today and you sharing all of this information, because the word, as we do note, mentor, coach, life coach, has somewhat been tainted with the area of social media, because everyone now is a mentor or a coach. And when you really look at the background of their life, they themselves need a mentor or a coach. Your explanation in identifying a coach is not just someone who've mastered this particular area, because that area, rather they've mastered in the financial area, but they may not have become full circle in their own lives. And so now we go and we pay these $5,000 to these individual coaches, but not really investigating their life to see if the story they're actually telling is real. And it's so refreshing to hear what you're doing through your organization and your business, because it is needed. Mm-hmm. All of us need a coach. All of us need someone to help us on this journey to say, you know what, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this right, there's a better way, because that's the only way we're going to know. I always listen, and I believe that, hearing it from a little girl, that proverb that if you want to know where you're going, ask those who are on their way back. There's always someone who has information for us that can be life-changing and impactful, but we have to make sure we connect with the right coach.
My area of expertise as a coach, I call it mindset and resilience. Mindset is the way you think about things, and resilience is the way you respond to things. Mm. I use that because many times you do need a mental health professional. Mm-hmm. And having the mental health background, there are people who have expressed interest in coaching, but because I have the mental health background, I will say, I think you would benefit much more from mental health rather than coaching. And there's some people that do not need a mental health background. Some people talk about, one of the areas is grief. Grief is imposed change. Mm-hmm. We only think about it as death, but it is imposed change. Yeah. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe there's a fire in your home. There's a natural disaster, things like that. When I think about that, there are people who need people to help them navigate that space. They don't need a diagnosis because you're grieving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An event has happened, and this is my response to the event. But coaching helps you to know that events don't define who you are. It is
Exactly.
something that happened to you. But sometimes you need a coach to help you understand that. So the bridge between coaching and therapy is to do something. To do something. When you don't do anything, you sit there, you're stuck. And the wonderful thing is coaching is another branch of healing. And many times when you heal yourself, you are healing the generation before you, and you are healing your descendants.
Exactly.
So do something.
Yeah.
Do something. We walk wounded.
Mm-hmm.
We walk wounded. And walking wounded, the healing can look different. If my nail comes off,
Absolutely.
I need a different type of healing than when I have cancer.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So think of coaching as that aspect. I think it's important that coaches do know the difference.
Yes.
I have to say that you are a phenomenal guest. I'm excited about all of the information that you've delivered thus far. I believe that you are the epitome of what your name says, breaking down barriers. As you gave your story earlier about your student who was diagnosed cerebral palsy, but under your tutelage, he decided, I want to break down this barrier.
Yes.
And I can see in your eyes, it was like, this is a safety concern here.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to break down this barrier, we're going to do this ASAP.
That's right.
We're going to do this ASAP. We're going to, well, what is that again? Activate your strength and your purpose. You moved me when you stated, we move you from where you are to where you want to be. Ooh, no disrespect whatsoever. But girl, I feel like I need to just sit down and just talk to you. Because in so many cases, I think personally, I know where I want to be. And it's like, what is the direction to get there? And then your analogy about the bridge of the broken pieces and deciding what are we going to use from there.
Yeah.
So what's an example that you have in your career that's an example of you moving an individual from where they are to where they want to be?
One of my examples, one of the services I offer is college coaching. And I do that because college can be difficult to navigate.
Yes.
It can be difficult to navigate the emotional aspects, the decision making, and a lot of times people don't realize they need support with that until they move away from home or they're on the college campus trying to navigate these things, especially if they're a barrier breaker, right? Remember I
Exactly.
said, you're the first one, the family's like, well, just go to class and pay attention. And it's like, it's more than that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Much more.
Yes.
Or the people that have shrunk themselves, who are brilliant people, but they shrink themselves because they're trying to navigate their cultural space. Like you said, adults are right.
Exactly.
And you're like, you could be wrong with this, but how do I navigate that? And so they experience rejection. But I have one client I would like to share the experience of. This client came from another country, experienced grief in a grief event, and lost a parent.
Yeah.
And so did not graduate from high school at the age that everybody else does. And eventually decided to get her GED and was in college, still not doing so well. And I had the opportunity of speaking in one of her classes. And because I was speaking in one of her classes, she came to me, she goes, I can't afford your services right now, but I need it. And I prayed about it. And I said, okay. And she says, when I am able to afford it, I will pay you. Keep billing me and I will pay you. So she shared her story with me and talked about how she struggled and did not get her GED until she was almost 30.
Wow.
Had a lot of shame with that.
Exactly.
And so we talked about, shame is an acronym. And this is from Dr. Brene Brown, not me. The acronym is self-hatred at my expense, right?
Wow.
Shame,
Yes.
self-hatred
At my
at
expense.
my expense, right? SHAME. And so we talked a lot about that. And just basic things. Why are you always sitting in the back of the class? Move to the front, things like that. Well, today that student has graduated and has a job in her field. So,
That is phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what workshops, like, any viewers who are part of workshops that are offered through Breaking Down Barriers?
I've done professional development workshops for staff, connection before compliance. And that's about when we work with children, a lot of times we want them just to do what we do, but we don't have a relationship.
Exactly.
And relationships are important in anything if we want compliance. So connection before compliance. We talked about the function of, behavior and what it serves and what it can look like and how to redirect, but with compassion, with your heart.
Yes.
That's so important. I have that workshop. I have the college workshop. We talk about imposter syndrome and just being afraid to step out
Oh, that's all good.
and what to ask.
Yes.
And then I have things about grief support.
That's
Because,
awesome.
a lot of people experience grief.
Absolutely.
And they say, oh, I went to the doctor and got medicine, but I still feel sad because you've done the physical. And I've also, through my church, did one on adverse childhood experiences, cases,
Yes.
and how our emotional state can impact our health later. And even according to this research that's been replicated several times internationally, it can shorten our lifespan by 20 years.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm always say that I make mention of a book that I studied during my program, that the body keeps the score.
Yes.
So it's noted, and it has to be recognized that. And I love that you said with grief, it's not only attributed to death, but a lot of times it's loss, any kind of loss. It's that
Or
experience
imposed
change. Exactly. Imposed. Exactly. Change, and it's something that we have to really learn to recognize that this did take place. Now, how do I get better?
I personally feel like I need to bring you back for our other setting and just to really just deal with grief. I teach that my working definition for the word death is separation. My working definition for death is separation. And with that, meaning you can experience death in so many areas. When we talk about death at a funeral, it's because the body and soul the spirit and soul has separated from the body. So if you got fired, you have been separated from that company, that's death. You go through a divorce, you have separated from your spouse, that's death. And so with every form of separation, there is grief.
But we don't want to speak about that. And that's the other thing about breaking down barriers. It gives a voice to your tears if they're
Exactly.
present.
Yes.
Every tear has a voice.
That's
Yes.
right.
It has a word, but a lot of times we will cry. Sometimes, and sometimes we won't cry. But the tears are internal.
Internally.
And we won't speak. But the body
Keep
keeps
the
score.
score.
And then we wonder why we have high blood pressure, why
Uh-huh.
we have, disease. And I also shared a disease, the teacher in me, right?
Yes.
When you look at disease, the word disease, dis means not, and ease is at ease. So disease is a manifestation of you not being emotionally at ease.
Wow.
Say that again.
What?
Say it again. Please say it again. Because please say it again.
Not being what?
Yes, dis means not, right? Or un. And then ease means a sense of calm.
Yes.
So often disease, dis-ease, means the emotionally, a physical manifestation of not being emotionally at ease.
Wow. I think that freed a whole
Yes,
lot of people.
I hope it did. I hope it did.
When you talk to people who are in like chiropractic, they will say, chiropractors, they say the body has potential to heal itself.
Yes.
But notice it has to be aligned.
That's right. To heal. That's right.
So when we are not aligned
Yes.
or not at ease, right? Let's use those terms interchangeably. Then our body says, I'm sick.
Exactly.
Oh, this is so good.
Exactly.
This is so good.
And so you're breaking
Yes.
down barriers, and I highly honor everything that you are doing. Where do you see this going? The breaking down barriers.
I hope to build a community that's based on resilience. And then that manifests, where we live, learn, love, work, and play. Imagine a resilient community. We are resilient people, but we've forgotten. We are resilient. We can fall down and get back up instead of saying, I fell down and I fail. There's a difference. When I worked in the school system, with third graders, right?
Yes.
I used to tell them with growth mindset, FAIL is an acronym for first attempt in learning. Instead of it defining the rest of who you are.
Ah.
So yeah, you failed.
Yes.
Yes, it was your first attempt in learning. So now that means we got to get up and try again.
Exactly.
That's where the resilience comes in.
Yeah.
Stand back up. Even if you got to crawl, it can take you 10 years to stand back up.
Yes.
But fail can be your first attempt in learning. And the power of yet. Never put a period where you can put a comma in the word yet.
Yes.
I don't know how to do this, period, means it'll never happen.
Exactly.
But if I put a comma, I don't know how to do this
Yet.
yet. Oh, now there's hope.
Yes.
Now I can break down some barriers. I may cut myself picking up the broken pieces, but I can still build that bridge.
I like that. I like that. You have so many nuggets. And so we thank you so much for coming and sharing all of this profound information.
Yes.
What do you say to those who are stuck?
Well, they can do a discovery call with me. Go to my website, www.breakingbarriersasap.com, and schedule a free discovery call. It can start with a conversation.
So you have been great, Miss Patricia. Thank you so much. This has been another great episode of Love Speaks. Please like, share, and I know you got about 30,000 people who need to hear this message on today. If you've been talking to an individual over and over again and saying, hey, I'm trying to get you to understand, like we said at the beginning of this, sometimes it takes mentorship and having someone else step in to say, hey, now I can see it, I get it, and we can break down barriers ASAP. Thank you for watching Love Speaks. Love Speaks is what love is. Love is culturally, love is spiritually, love is connected, and love is current. And so we're so grateful to have you here. So do us a favor, like, share, subscribe on whatever platform that you have, and hit the notification button so every time that we come on, you know, hey, we are here. Every week we're releasing a new episode of great information, and we want you to be a part of it. We do all this with you in mind.